All right, we are back for another training camp recap. This was practice number 8. The San Francisco 49ers practiced in pads for the 4th day in a row, I believe. Obviously, we got a lot of quarterbacks to talk about, but as you know, we are going to get to that in just a second. Before we get into that, I want to talk about some other standouts from today. CMC had a probably 70-yard touchdown. It was fantastic because he disappeared behind the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden a hole to the left opened up, and Christian McCaffrey just popped right through and basically would have went untouched for about 70-yard touchdown, kind of down the left sideline. It was really, really nice. I'd have to continue to say that the running backs look phenomenal. TDP specifically, TDP is really having one of the best camps out of anyone right now. Ty Davis Price, man, he's really shaken off any potential questions about being on the roster bubble. Another surprise, the 49ers just recently signed Taco Charlton. He's a guy who continues to flash. He looks like he has some real legitimate ability as a pass rusher. He has this counter inside spin move that is just absolutely fantastic. It's so nice, and he continues to pull it out on one-on-ones and win pretty convincingly. Javon Kinlaw continuing to show off his power. He had one rep on Spencer Burford where he was able to push Spencer Burford back, and I would say it would be a win for Javon Kinlaw, but it was also a really good finish by Spencer Burford as he kind of anchored, and then he flipped Javon Kinlaw onto the ground. So, like I said, Kinlaw still got the push, but I did like the finish by Spencer Burford to kind of flip Kinlaw onto the ground. Jake Brendel had a really nice rep against Kinlaw. Kinlaw tried to bull rush him, and Brendel did a really good job of just staying in front of him and holding his ground and anchoring. 49ers, George Kittle versus Talanoa Hufanga continues to be one of the funnest 1v1 matchups in training camp. Talanoa Hufanga makes it really, really difficult on George Kittle sometimes on this one particular rep. I mean, when it is a physical matchup when George and Talanoa are going at it. So far, Talanoa has had the edge in 1v1s on George, but it was pretty good day by Talanoa Hufanga. The 49ers linebackers continue to look really good and just really continue to shine. The young linebackers, Marcelino McCrary-Ball again is all over the field. I'd be kind of shocked at this point if Marcelino didn't make the roster. McCrary-Ball is he's flying. But overall, like when we move towards team periods, it was definitely a tug of war type practice, and I feel like we keep getting those. There's like not a clear-cut winner in regards to offense versus defense because both sides of the ball are playing really, really well. Like the defense would have had a bunch of would-be sacks today. Obviously, they let those plays go, players pull up, and they let the play roll on. But the defense they continue to find themselves around the line of scrimmage. I think Clelin Ferrell would have had a potential sack, Eric Armstead, Kevin Givens. They're even showing some safety blitzes. I think Taylor Hawkins would have gotten home on a blitz a couple times. So the 49ers defense, they're showing that even without Nick Bosa, they can still get home. So defense had a pretty solid day, but like I said, it's a back and forth, and obviously that's going to lead us into the conversation kind of about the quarterbacks. But some wide receivers continuing to take steps forward. Danny Gray. Danny Gray had a pretty slow start and definitely had me a little bit concerned about how he started off training camp. But boy, has he picked it up. He's had some really good practices these last couple days, and he continues to stack. So Danny Gray is doing a phenomenal job. He's doing it over the middle. He's going up and he's rising on some tough catches. He had a nice catch over the middle of the field where he kind of had a layout for it. He had one towards the sideline. It was pretty solid. He had to rise up and get it. Super, super nice. I would say, though, the play of the day was in move the ball period at the end of practice. We got an extra 30 minutes today, and we got a move the ball period where Brock Purdy took the 49ers offense all the way down the field, and he hit basically dropped back, clean pocket, and delivered an absolute strike to the corner pylon. Deebo Samuel was able to make a back shoulder catch. It was really, really nice. Really, really nice plays. It's one of those plays that make you go, ooh, it was a good one. We did have a little bit of a scare, though, because injury. Deebo Samuel was really slow to get up, and the players looked concerned, and Deebo looked pretty hurt. So that was a big scare. But Deebo Samuel was able to get back up, and he actually made his way back onto the field. So it doesn't sound to be too serious for Deebo Samuel. But overall, that was a phenomenal play. Brandon Ayuk doing Brandon Ayuk things. He had a play where he took the ball probably on about a 20-yard catch over the middle and would have taken it all the way to the house for about 50 yards. Brandon Ayuk continues. Brandon Ayuk did have a drop, though. He did have a pretty uncharacteristic drop so far from training camp. But Brandon Ayuk continues to be a guy. Ray McCloud had a nice catch. Ronnie Bell had a nice catch today. So guys are showing up. Braden Willis looks phenomenal. Braden Willis looks like he's going to make this roster as a 7th-round draft pick. Latu taking steps forward as well, but Braden is definitely still a little bit ahead in that regard. But let's get into the quarterbacks now, shall we? Because I do see and recognize that there's some, conflicting things back and forth. So there's one throw from Brock Purdy. It's about 40 yards down the left sideline. This one was to George Kittle. He had one-on-one coverage with Dre Greenlaw. I called it a really good throw. I thought it was because, again, one of the things that I'm looking for is to see Brock Purdy hit on these 40-plus yard passes. And it was a 50-50 ball. It wasn't like George Kittle was running in stride and Brock just threw this ball and dropped it right in the bucket and, George Kittle just ran to the house. It wasn't one of those kinds of deep balls. It was a deep ball where, the way I'm reading it, you've got one-on-one coverage, George Kittle with Dre Greenlaw, in the kind of back hip pocket of George. It was a good ball. I mean, the ball had a nice spin on it. He put it up there, and it allowed George Kittle to turn back towards the football and make a phenomenal catch. So again, I wanted to make that crystal clear. I know people are describing it as a underthrow, and although it could potentially be described as that, it's also a 50-50 ball where you got to throw it up and give your guy a shot to go get it. So I think that context and that nuance matters because Brock Purdy put it up with Dre Greenlaw in tight coverage, and guess who came down with it? George Kittle. It was a tough catch, but it hit George right in the chest, and he came down with that pass. So I've seen kind of some back and forth because I thought it was a good ball because the context for me is Brock Purdy put it in a spot where George Kittle could go get it in a one-on-one situation. It was completed. It was good. It was a phenomenal catch, and I thought it was a really good throw by Brock Purdy as well. I'm calling this Brock Purdy's best practice of training camp so far, and the context behind that is this is the most comfortable that I have seen Brock Purdy for an entire practice. Brock Purdy wasn't perfect. He would have got sacked a couple times. On one of the sacks that he would have gotten, he just flat-footed threw it up, and it would have been an interception, but he would have got completely clobbered if it was live bullets, and that thing would have been gone. Or it wouldn't even been a throw. He would have got sacked. So with Brock Purdy, though, everything that I'm continuing to see from him, you're seeing the throws over the middle. He would have had a really nice throw to Brandon Ayuk outside the numbers, about 20 to 30 yards. Hit Brandon Ayuk right in the hands. He dropped it. We saw throws with anticipation to CMC in the flat. Again, the small things that Brock Purdy does really, really well, and I've talked about many times. I thought it was a good practice by Brock Purdy, especially how he ended practice in the move the ball period. He looks completely in control, moving the ball downfield. And, you know, he had one throw to Brandon Ayuk over the middle of the field where he drops back. He actually calls an audible at the line of scrimmage because you could see Talanoa Hufanga was going to be blitzing off the right side. And he calls an audible at the line of scrimmage, and he drops back, fades off his back foot, and delivers a strike to Brandon Ayuk. Again, wasn't a perfect day. He had some misses, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was Brock Purdy's best practice so far. Sam Darnold, it was another Sam Darnold day, continued to be efficient, was able to get things done. People are, we got Trey Lance coming over here. That's what's happening behind me. So Trey Lance is coming to sign autographs. Speaking of, we'll talk about Trey Lance then. Trey Lance was pretty efficient on the day, completed most of his passes, but he really didn't push the ball downfield past 15 yards or so. He had one play that was probably about 20 to 25 yards to Danny Gray outside the numbers on a throw that he's hit. It's probably the most consistent throw that he's hit, which is that kind of like corner post outside the numbers towards the sideline. He hits that pretty regularly. He had a good one yesterday to Tay Martin. That was probably his longest throw on the day. Outside of that, you had a lot of kind of check downs and things, and kind of over the middle and in the flat. He had one throw to Ronnie Bell. The ball kind of came out a little bit like a knuckleball and was a little bit behind, but Ronnie Bell made a phenomenal adjustment to kind of come back and rise up and catch the ball. I would say the hardest rep for Trey was he was standing in the pocket. He looked through his progressions, decided to bail out to his right, I think, to buy more time. And then he had it was either a running back or tight end, just like right there in the flat, probably about 5 to 7 yards away. And he went to dump it off, and the ball hit the turf right in front of the receiver's feet. So, you know, those are one of the things that we hear a lot, you know, the layup throws. You could tell he wanted that one back. But again, like I said, he hit most of his throws. You could nitpick some of them, but he completed most of his throws. I would say that one was kind of the one that wasn't as, you definitely would want to have back if you're Trey Lance. But also with that, Sam Darnold, again, continuing to be Sam Darnold. I don't think he wowed today. I thought he did a good job of distributing. He hit Deebo Samuel on a would-be slant that would have went maybe close to a touchdown if Deebo kept going. But Sam was able to, you know, do Sam things. Solid day by Sam. And then Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen got a lot more reps today than he didn't get any yesterday. He had a pretty solid day. He was trying to push the ball downfield. He had some good throws over the middle. So not a bad day by any stretch by the quarterbacks. But again, with how I've been evaluating these quarterbacks every single day and what I saw from Brock today, I felt like Brock for sure had individually of himself his best practice, looked most in control, especially when it was move the ball and kind of like a real world simulation of moving the ball downfield. He looked right at home. So Brock continues to build confidence for me every day. He did have a miss about 40 yards in the same spot where he hit Kittle. He threw it into double coverage. The ball was to the right, to the inside. Talanoa Hufanga deflected it. So again, Brock wasn't perfect on the day, but it's with all quarterbacks right now. They're not going to be perfect on the day. They should be allowed opportunities to miss, and that's for Brock, Trey, Sam, and Brandon Allen. So overall, pretty good day by all the quarterbacks. And again, I see Brock Purdy settling in every single day. So that's what I got. We'll do a breakdown later. But let me know what you think about this in the comments below, because I know I've seen already kind of a bunch of different tweets and stuff like that. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below.